intro
And we're live. We do need to make an intro.
because we just go
I
live like this,
agree. I
It's good.
agree. I don't know how you do that though. I don't know how you do that. Hello.
We'll figure it out.
Hello. Hello everybody. Hello
Hello.
everyone.
Hello there. Hello
How's it
there.
going?
Hello.
Hope everyone is doing well. Um what's happening in the world today? Phil, tell me about your day. How was your day?
I met up with a friend that had sushi,
Nice.
talked about life, so that was nice. Went to a little bar really close by and had lemongrass water.
There you go.
And that's pretty much it. That's the highlight of the day.
I mean, that's all right. That's a good highlight. Hanging out with a friend, getting a drink and some
Haven't
sushi.
seen her in 4 months, so
That's a long time.
long time indeed. People get busy. People just, sometimes you just can't see your friends for a long time.
It's true, and it's hard.
What about you, Luke? What about you?
Today was a boring work day for me.
Nice, excellent. Love boring work days.
It was a lot of PhD stuff today. That's what was happening. So I was writing, a lot of research, a lot of writing, a lot of rewriting. Not going very well.
Writing.
Hey Biffer, how's it going?
Research. Oh wait, I should go to the comments section so I can read the comments. Hey,
We like to be missed. We like to be missed, and we're glad that you're here.
that's correct.
We saw you for a little bit at the last show, but not too much. But
not too much. But we're here now.
Indeed, having a bit of whiskey. It's a perfect Friday night drink.
Off-brand Sprite.
The next best drink. But yeah, no. So just pretty much just a big writing research day. Nothing that exciting, except for obviously the things percolating in my head, the thoughts that I've had over the past 24 hours about a certain show that just come out.
You did it, didn't you?
I did. The irony
did it.
of all this, being like, we're not going to, the first show to be like, hey, and phase by, and then
right, and then here we are.
Every other thing has had something to do with Marvel. I don't care. I don't care. I'm not ashamed. But yeah.
Okay, just for the record, guess what? I didn't see it.
Yes.
I didn't see it at all. I don't care, but Luke did, and I find it fun because I think your significant other happens to be a lawyer.
Yes, this is true. This is true.
That's one of the reasons why you decided to have a gander.
Yes. That is true. I'm moving my mic, so it's going to be a bit noisy for a second. Yeah, sorry.
I'm glad this is a visual and audio show because that really sounded like a fly being unzipped.
Did it? All right, there we go. No flies were unzipped in the course of that noise. Yeah, having a bit of coffee now because I have whiskey and coffee on my desk. That's the kind of horrible guy I am.
That combination does not sound appealing whatsoever.
It's perfect.
Ugh.
Look. You make whiskey cocktails, man, with like coffee liqueur and stuff.
Like a White Russian?
Yeah,
I guess so.
So yeah, it's you can have one drink of that and one drink of the other, and it's great. But I want to show off before we get started my really cool never-ending story.
Oh yes, yeah. Look at that. Look at it. I see it right there.
It's
never-ending
like
story.
the film version, and I love it so much. I actually only bought it recently, but truth be told, I bought it thinking I was buying a notebook, and then oops, I wasn't buying a notebook. I was buying the book.
Right, you're the actual one from the movie that I've not seen,
which we will watch at some point. But no, yes, we'll R.I.P. Wolfgang Peterson. Welcome, Frank.
That's also true.
Chief Brody.
So I have a friend who lives in Los Angeles, has been living there for like 15, 16, 17 years. Knows quite a few people in the film industry, and he was able to talk to Wolfgang Peterson
Ooh.
at at a get together somewhere. And he said he was really funny and just really humble. He was surprised. He said, to this day I'm still surprised at how well Neverending Story was received. So
Mm.
that's an interesting little anecdote.
Yeah, it captured the imagination so well. I mean, as a kid, for a kid, it just everything was perfect for me. Like, watching it was watching the Artex in the swamps of sadness, like being sucked into the mud, and Atreyu like just wailing to try and keep him happy, and him succumbing to the sad, like
Yeah.
it quote
I,
unquote
I
ruins
think
a kid.
I think I know what you're talking about because I haven't seen it.
Yeah, no, you'll know the scene just through like pop
Mm.
culture stuff. But no, it's terrific. I think there are so many interesting visuals and haunting moments that just make that film terrific. I love the Neverending Story, and I love the book. The book is great. I've read the book. The book is interesting because the book also carries when the Neverending Story, the story in the film finishes. The book doesn't finish there. The book carries on
Mm.
and moves into what becomes the story for the Neverending Story 2. Um,
Ah,
and I mean, what I found so fascinating about the book was like it did begin to feel like an actual never-ending story where you had your beginning, middle, end with the nothing, all that kind of stuff, and then that comes to an end, and then you're following a new adventure with Bastion,
I see.
and
Okay.
you
Didn't
know
know that.
yeah, though it really feels like, but in a good way. You're not like, oh my god, this is still going on. You're like, no, this is great. This is great.
Mm-hmm.
But we are not here to talk about Neverending Story, are we?
No, we're here to talk about the very easy to end story that people will forget after a month or two, whenever this show finishes. I'm assuming,
We'll see.
much like every other Marvel show.
Yeah, I mean,
And it's
I,
go on.
what Marvel shows have you watched?
Well, I started at the beginning, which was look.
Agents of Shield.
No, no. I didn't go there. I didn't go there. I know you watched it, and I remember you having favorable reactions towards it, I think, at the
Agents of
beginning.
Shield.
Yeah, because that thing like started in
That was terrible.
oh, I thought you said it was pretty good until it was bad.
No, season
That was my
season one was
impression.
season one was terrible. It got okay around season three.
I see. Okay, it's
Um,
the reverse.
yeah.
No, I didn't watch that. I didn't watch Agent Carter. I didn't watch
I liked
the
Agent Carter
Netflix
season one.
ones. That's the one. I didn't watch any of those. I wasn't interested.
Ah,
But I did watch WandaVision. That's where I started.
okay,
I was intrigued by like I honestly felt that the mystery of that was well done for the beginning
okay,
until it accumulated to nonsense.
right, right.
And then it was very disappointing, and I have a bad looking back of I just don't have a very favorable impression. Then I watched Loki. And you know, I don't know what it was, but I watched the whole thing and I felt a sense of emptiness
Yeah,
that I was like, this was interesting, but I had a lot of thoughts about it. But then once again, the more time went by where after seeing it, the less favorable I felt towards it. And I
yeah.
think that's where it ended. So I didn't watch the other ones.
Hello, Melissa.
I'm
How
so
are
sorry,
you?
Melissa. But there's good things about Loki. There was what's his name? What's his name? Richard E. Grant.
616 Loki was cool. Yeah, I was mixed with Loki as well. Overall I was a little bit disappointed. Um, but there were these like moments that were like, this is really cool, and if they maybe had developed this a little bit more, spent a bit more time doing X, Y, and Z, it could have been just a little bit better. Um, yeah, I didn't really connect with the reveal of the villain at the end. I think
No,
Chief
unfortunately
Brody
not.
Rules
No.
always said that the villain,
Yeah.
the reveal at the end should have actually been another Loki, and I'm like, that actually would have been really good, and would have made sense. I would have loved that. Um, but yeah, so yeah, Melissa says I have to say I like more the character of Loki over the show. So yes, yes, Tom Hiddleston is terrific and makes that character. He is the reason the first Thor movie is a success, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And he was the perfect first villain for the Avengers. That
Oh
he
yeah.
just
Oh yes.
encapsulates Loki so well that even when you're watching something that might be a little bit subpar, I think he can elevate it. And I felt like that with a completely different franchise, but with Doctor Who. Like, I love Peter Capaldi's Doctor. I don't really think he had the best scripts, but he was just so amazing that he knocked it out of the park. And I was happy to watch him because he was so good. Um, Oh, this is a good question. Do you think comic readers have a different take versus casual TV show fans? Yes.
It's a
I
that's a hard yes there.
oh, it is because like so
Yeah.
Melissa like works with books and authors and stuff like that.
Ah, okay, cool,
So
cool,
think
very
about it
nice.
in the way like you would like an adaptation of your favorite book. The comic fans have their, they're diehard about their continuity and things like that.
Yeah, and I understand that. That's an understandable thing because it's something you invest a lot of energy and interest in, and it's
Yeah.
very much like it's very much like reading a book or what, like following a narrative. That's the whole point. You're following it and you're
Yeah.
accumulating the knowledge and you love it and it's fun and it's engaging. So of course it's going to be difficult when an adaptation of something comes out and things are not exactly the way they were on the page or
Yes.
so on and so forth.
And sometimes you can adapt things differently from the comic books, and like with the old X-Men movies, you can take bits and pieces and make a new narrative out of them, and it still remains true and interesting and fresh. And that can also be quite fun. So it's the diehardness of the comic book fan is interesting because the films don't need to necessarily directly reflect what was in the comics, but you sort of want the character to remain true to how they're depicted in the books
Yeah.
over however many years that they've been about. Yeah, but I think for casual fans, I think for casual fans, it's not as well. It's obviously not.
Big of a deal.
Yeah, it won't be as precious for sure.
It won't be as
Um,
precious, but I always feel like in the end, is it good is probably the biggest question.
yes,
Um,
I mean
is
a
it
good
good? And there's reasons why people like comic book fans or fans of the source material get kind of upset because many times stuff that they liked was good, you
yes,
know? And if you're replacing it with something else, then it gets pretty debatable and it gets really like complicated about
yeah.
like the nature of things. What did Chief Brody Rules say? Variant of version of
Oh,
Loki.
his comment was he was saying that he thought a variant version of Loki being in control would have been so perfect. He would have finally been in
Yes.
control and make sure no Loki was better than him, and I think that would have been such an impressive thing. I really love that idea very very much. Um,
We have to set up a phase 5, Luke. We have to set up phase 5.
well, they did, and it will be Kang the Conqueror. Go Kang. Um,
Riveting.
yeah, so yeah, the Marvel shows. I watched Loki. Loki's the only one that I watched. I
From
think
beginning to end.
in the on the Disney Plus side. On the Disney Plus side, I watched Daredevil. I love Daredevil. I liked the
Mm-hmm.
first season of Jessica Jones. I liked the first season of Luke Cage. That was really good. Yeah, so I watched all the Netflix shows except for Iron Fist. That didn't click for me. And
Iron
yeah,
Fist.
yeah. So I've
Yeah.
seen a good number of the Marvel shows, and my ultimate favorite is Daredevil. I think that the Daredevil show has been the best that they've ever done.
I do
And
think that many people share your
yeah,
opinion.
it is going to be hard to top Daredevil. So the question is, does She-Hulk? Now, the simple answer is no. She-Hulk doesn't top Daredevil, but She-Hulk is a very, very different show to Daredevil. It is a comedy. It is meant to be a kind of a sitcom sort of thing.
I was gonna say I haven't seen it. I'm ready to tell you to fill me in on what you saw. What did you see?
Yes. Just quickly, Chief Brody rules. Frank says, I stopped after Winter Soldier and Falcon. Oof, terrible. Like 25% off. The 20% of the show was decent. Yeah, I don't care for either of those characters, so I wasn't interested in watching. Same with WandaVision. I don't know.
WandaVision. It had such a good start. It had such a good start, man.
Yeah. So yeah, so She-Hulk. I don't know, Melissa, you've seen it. Chief Brody, I don't know if you've seen it. Biffer, if you're still around, I don't know if you've seen it.
I have not.
But right. There we go. I had bad luck because of major edits. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know. Can you clarify what you mean? Because I don't know what you mean. So yeah, She-Hulk opens with Jennifer Winter Soldier. Oh, right.
Winter Soldier.
Okay, yeah, there we go. Makes sense. Yeah.
Winter
Sorry,
Soldier.
I got distracted by the comments. So the opening of She-Hulk is Jennifer Walters doing a monologue in an office. Clearly, her her sort of
me.
No. She's preparing for a court case. So she's doing her closing statements. I think is what she's actually doing. And I was like, okay. You kind of get an idea. You kind of get a sense of kind of her, her strength as a lawyer, how she kind of handles herself, how well her speech comes across. So you do get an interesting sense from that perspective. And then it cuts away, and there are two people standing in the room, and it's her legal aid and some guy. And there's this moment after this monologue where the man character says, "Do you really think you're up for this, or do you think I should do it?" And she's like, "No, I got it. It's fine." And he's like, "Really? Are you sure?" And she's like, "Yeah, I got it." Like he's basically being a dick. He's being a dickhead.
Well, you're a
yeah, it's kind of going that route.
look.
And yeah, he leaves the room, and Jennifer Walters is like, oh yeah, screw him. I'm gonna do it. I don't need him to do it, and it's fine. And then she goes to walk out the room, and then the kind of the fourth wall breaking begins.
Yes, the famous
so
fourth wall breaking.
Yeah, it's a bit sort of Deadpool, where Deadpool will talk to the camera. She stops and she's like, "Oh, yeah, by the way, I'm She-Hulk, and this is my friend here. She knows that I'm She-Hulk, and I'm about to go
Hulk out.
do some lawyer stuff." And I was like, "Okay, cool, I guess." And then they do flashback, and then the flashback begins with her and Hulk in the car, which is something that we've seen.
With the joke.
Yeah.
With the joke.
Now,
hilarious.
Now I want to. So my first sort of problem with the show was this opening, and the thing is, this guy character, I don't know his name. He does sort of feel like insert arrogant man character here, and we'll tease, we'll have a bit of a comedy moment with that, the sort of the eye roll moment. But ultimately, he's quite pointless. He's pointless in that scene, but he's also pointless in the episode, in that we never see him again. And that sort of
why was he there other than just being a establishment of her problems in the court field or whatever?
Yes. that was my problem, and I was like, well, I was like, you've done this scene with this guy who clearly has some beef with her. He thinks he's better than her, but all you've really done is you've told us this, but you've not really showed us this.
That's a.
And
I was
that's
gonna start going into like, I've seen that in a lot of movies lately.
yeah. There's the sort of the habit where they don't actually earn earn that moment where they just like, actually, if we just tell the audience this, then it's fine. Um, and I think you really could have taken that scene and introduced, I think, really interesting conflict for her in the workplace. Because the other thing is in the whole episode, we don't do anything courtroom related until the very end, until the last
Yeah.
like 3 minutes or so of the show, and this guy doesn't have any other lines in it. So I was like, well, that disappointed me. I thought you had this perfect moment to set up interpersonal conflict, and you didn't, and that was quite interesting to me. Um, that they chose it kind of felt a little. The writer for the show also writes for Rick and Morty.
Oh right, she did the Pickle Rick.
Yeah, and I sort of
Episode.
felt like maybe this was writing that might work for a cartoon,
Oh, okay. I think I know.
because
What
like in a cartoon you're basically doing it for kids, and it's very short attention span
I
stuff.
mean,
So like you
Rick and
do
Morty.
sort of get there a bit quicker. But it was sort of, I think you could have done more with it. I agree. I do agree with you, Melissa, that it was a sort of personification of men in the workplace. It absolutely was. The problem is that this show is, it's meant to be a workplace, you know, a workplace drama, and we have now sort of we've set this precedent up, and we've set this character up, this guy that I'm assuming is going to come back in future episodes. Maybe I'm not sure. I've not seen the whole thing, obviously. But it's like, I think if you're going to do that, I think go the distance. I think kind of drip feeding and doing kind of casual moments like that underplays it, and doesn't give that particular kind of theme justice. In my opinion, I think it could have just developed it a little bit more. I was looking for more from that. Um, but I do agree, like, that what they were doing was absolutely that, and the point is made. I just think the point could have been made. I just think it could have done something. I wanted to know what her office life was like, and we didn't really. I didn't think we got that from that opening scene, because it just very quickly rushed us out, and then we don't come back until the end. I mean, I've heard that yes, the rest of the show is courtroom based stuff, so maybe we will get more into that. But I'm just from an establishing point of view. If this is your first episode, I think establish your key players.
I mean, it might show up in like either flashbacks or just continuously, but you don't know. Maybe.
It might, but yeah. Well, the rest of the show I think is linear. The rest of the show is linear.
So what's the main episode about then?
The main thing is really just about her coming to terms with her powers, and just wanting to get back to normal life. If you were to describe it, that's probably the best way to describe it, I think.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads me to my next point, and that is after she leaves the room after the fourth wall break, then we jump into the origin story, and the origin happens very quickly. I was shocked, actually, how quickly it was done. I think you've seen the bit where Bruce and Jennifer are in the car, and they're driving, and they crash and stuff. And I know why you roll your eyes. Like it's
they chose a very poor clip.
Yeah, potentially. No worries, Martha. Thanks for coming around. We will see you later. It was fun to have you.
Bye.
So they do that bit, and I'm always a bit sort of when you have your it, to me, it does feel like it falls into the cliche of, we have this female driver, and she crashes the car because she's not paying attention. And I know what happens in other things where guys driving stuff like that, but I was just like, oh, because I remember when they changed the Doctor to Jodie Whittaker, like the first thing she does is crash the TARDIS. I'm like,
Oh wow,
guys,
did
like,
really?
yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like you're playing into a cliche, and maybe they don't realize it or not. I know that a car crash is great drama,
Baffling to me.
it is very good drama, but you're just sort of like, the
It's
cliche,
the first thing they
stereotypes that are,
do.
yeah, the stereotypes that are out there. Don't play into the stereotypes, because if you do, you will have the trolls coming at you, and they will
Yeah.
make their jokes and stuff like that. And you're just kind of like, well, maybe don't do that to give people ammunition.
Yeah.
Find other ways of doing that kind of stuff.
I'll be
Um,
right back. I'm really
okay,
sorry.
okay, no, that's absolutely fine. So I will talk to the chat for a second. Frank, how are you? Hope you're doing well. So it was. Well, I'll talk a little bit more about the beginning. Um, I do think what would have been fun with this guy character that they set up, but was kind of useless, is I think what would have been fun is to do a some sort of conflict with why, um why does he not respect her, and how does she react to that? Are they vying for the same sort of position or job or something like that? What's going on with that? I think something like that would have made for much more interesting conflict between, Jennifer Walters and this unnamed guy. Phil is back.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
So Biffer says, "Why did you come back after all these years from YouTube?"
Who, me or you?
Well, me. I think me,
Okay.
because I was one who was talking.
I never left.
Frank never, or Phil never left. I just got really busy, and it was hard to produce. It was hard to record and edit and put together videos on a regular basis and get them out. And so I just thought, also it was pretty grueling work with, I would say, kind of little return. And I prefer doing a show like this where
Yeah,
Phil and I can
where
chat.
we just
Yeah.
chat and talk. What
Yeah.
else do you want to do?
And also it's nice to be able to have the chat, to speak to everyone here, and yeah, see where that takes the conversation and the topic. So yeah, that's why doing the short videos and reviews just didn't really excite me as much anymore. And so I took a break, but now we're back. So
Yeah,
anyway,
so tell me what happens in this show. What's
okay.
happening?
So the next
Plot,
bit, so the
action, reaction.
problem number two that I have with this show is the rushed origins.
But Luke, we don't want to hear about the origins anymore. That is so boring. It's
Then don't do
lame
it.
now.
Then don't do it. Don't have a whole episode
fair
about the
enough.
origin and rush it. Just move past it. Like the Batman. He just walks in the room and he's Batman. And he's with Gordon, and you're fine with it. Just do it. She walks into the courtroom. She's She-Hulk. You can have a quick explanation, a quick flashback to set things up. It's fine. Or even the Edward Norton Hulk film. He's just the Hulk. They do the origin in the trailer, and you get it because you get it.
You mean the main titles?
Yeah. Sorry. In the main titles, it's fine.
One of the things I remember the most.
Yeah. So anyway, so they're driving this car, and Bruce is wearing this inhibitor it's keeping him from hulking out.
So when does this take place?
After the last Avengers movie, at some point.
But he's still supposed to be Professor Hulk.
Yes. But
he's not.
He's wearing the inhibitor that's keeping him from hulking out. So it's sometime between the last film and I guess now, so however many couple of years later, he's done some stuff to block his Hulk power coming out.
Oh, okay.
For the time being. So that's why he's not Hulk in the car. That's why when they are in the car crash, you don't see him Hulk out because he's wearing an inhibitor, right?
But what for? What
Because he doesn't
for?
want to be the big guy anymore. He's trying to be Bruce Banner. Anyway, they crash the car and they're all cut up and stuff like that. And she's trying to pull Bruce out of the car. Bruce is bleeding, and a drop of his blood falls onto her cut.
Okay.
And within about 3 seconds, she becomes She-Hulk and runs off into the
No.
woods.
What?
She becomes She-Hulk and rushes off into the woods after this little drop of Bruce's blood falls onto her cut. And I was like, wow, like they're really rushing this, because then the next scene is she's waking up in the woods and I don't know how much time has passed. I don't know if it's the next day. I don't know if it's just later that night. Then she, and I kind of feel like I'm getting whiplash. I'm like, there's no sort of like moment where you're like with her or in her head or in her mind as she's going somewhere. You just kind of suddenly wake up with her in the woods, and then she's walking through the woods, and then she's and then she's and then she goes to a bar, and it's very you kind of get a
is it
Terminator.
that kind of that thing where it's like Green Hulk lady goes into the bar?
Well, no, when she wakes
Oh,
up,
she's back
she
to
wakes
normal.
up
Okay.
as Jennifer Walter. She's not Hulk anymore. So when she wakes up in the woods, she's back to being a human, has no memory of what's just happened, and then walks into a bar, all clothes cut up and nasty, and blood on her shirts and shirt and all that kind of stuff. And this is where things like this is again where it's like the show and the writing just kind of starts throwing stuff at you. And what they do is she's sitting in it. She goes to this bar and she goes to the bathroom and she's trying to wash up. And while she's in there washing up, this pack of like 5 women come in.
Oh, okay.
And instead of them being like, oh my gosh, who is this person who is bloody and clothes are torn up and looks like they've just been through hell? Like,
Yeah, you mean your normal reaction as a human being, yes?
yeah, they are all sort of happy and goofy, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, oh, what's happened to you? Who did this to you?" And then they start like doing her makeup and giving them their shoes and giving them their shirts and stuff. And it just felt very inauthentic. It didn't feel like a real scene that real people would do. And there was like, it wasn't even like comedic. It's like it was one of those moments where like you kind of get like a Jason Bourne moment where like Bourne's trying to work out who he is after just waking up, and like it's meant to be really intense, but then it's undercut with these individuals who are trying to put makeup on her.
Classic,
and you're like,
classic Marvel.
Yeah, and you're like, what are you doing? Like, what is this scene meant to accomplish? Because the thing that happens next is the next scene smash cuts to her standing outside the bar. These women are gone. They're not involved anymore. They never come back into the show. They're completely gone.
Her
and
guardian
then, of course,
Hulk.
Say again.
Her guardian Hulks came to help her.
Well, yeah, no. So then she's outside the bar, and then of course you get the cliche. Here come the pack of men.
Here we go. I was waiting for this. I was waiting for it.
And they're like, they do the whole kind of antagonistic thing, and it's something where it's like the scene as an idea is a great scene, because
Absolutely.
you can do a lot of drama, and you can have a lot of horror, and you can have a lot of like really tense stuff with those kinds of scenes. But this just didn't do that. This was a 3-second scene, much like the previous one, where you have the guys being cliche, doing the cat call, like, "Oh, come here, baby, yeah, come here," blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, "Oh, I think this is my boyfriend over here," and like, "Oh, no, it's not." And then she turns around and she hulks out for a second, and then before she can do anything, the Hulk turns up and knocks her out, and then we fade to black.
This is very strange.
Yeah.
I'm picturing this in my head, and it's odd.
It's jarring, and I said to Claire when we were watching, I was like, this show is giving me whiplash. Like, I don't know what's going on. The editing and the pacing, it's like you have all these scenes that are interesting scenes, but none of them have life, and none of them are breathing in the way that they should breathe. Um, and because when I said literally while we're watching this show, I said what you do with this particular moment is this is meant to be a drama moment where she should be in the bar in the bathroom looking at herself. You have really freaky flashbacks where she's remembering what she was seeing as a Hulk, sort of kind of born. Yes,
So what about the spaceship?
it's gone.
What happened? Why was the spaceship there?
We'll tell you. I'll get to that in a minute.
Oh,
Tell you that
okay,
in a minute.
good.
We don't, but we don't know is the truth. We don't actually know. But anyway, so you have this moment. You need to have this moment where she's looking in the mirror and she's trying to work out what is going on, what's just happened to her. It should be a very intense moment for her. Even in a comedy, you can have intense moments. Like you think of The Office, you think of Friends, you think of I don't know other comedies.
Everything that Edgar Wright did with Simon Pegg.
Yeah, like you can have really dramatic moments in comedy, absolutely, and I think you should. And so I was like, you had this perfect moment to do this, and so I would have had her like in the bar, looking in the mirror, freaking out. These women come in, see her turn up, and they like are legitimately concerned, and their concern begins to freak her out even more. Then what you do is you have her then transform into the Hulk. She busts out of this bar, knocking some people over. She's outside. Maybe there's a semi truck coming at her, and she's about to like grab it and flip it, and hurt innocent people because she is hulking out and she doesn't know what's going on. And then that's when Bruce turns up and apprehends her, and is able to subdue her and bring her back to his pad where he can begin to
To
work
the Hulk
with her.
cave.
To the Hulk cave, because you have this. Otherwise,
Cave
this
Hulk.
whole moment of her, this blood getting dropped on, going to the bar, these women giving her clothes, these men hitting on her, and then hulking out for less than a second, for fraction of a second. All this happens within about a 2-minute time span, and you're like, you have really missed a trick with developing your character and the interpersonal conflict and worry that they should be having right now.
Yeah, and that kind of would establish a lot of those not just insecurities but fears and foreboding things that might happen throughout the rest of the show. But then again, that might be a different show that you're pitching rather than what their intention is, because we only saw one episode. But
Yeah,
but
I mean,
it's true.
what I've heard is the rest of the show is a courtroom drama.
Okay, like
and that for your first episode of your courtroom drama to have nothing to do with courtroom drama is bizarre to me. It's something I wouldn't have done. I don't see the
I understand.
Yeah. So Chief Brody rules.
Chief.
So Stan Lee became a Hulk somewhere in 2008.
That's right.
Yes.
He drank that little bit of
I think he died. I think there's something on the news about a man dying. I don't think he became a Hulk.
So
I think he died.
I'm gonna smash.
I would use Hulk's blood to create 10 mini Hulks to fight Thanos.
10,000 mini Hulks.
10,000 Hulks. Yes. 10, yeah, I mean, why not?
10,000.
I mean, it's a good point. I think the gimmick was that because he was inhibiting his Hulk powers. That is why he could be cut and bleed. I know he drank the blood. I remember the scene, but I think there's like a news story somewhere about like the old man dying. So I think he drinks it, but I think he dies. I think. Is it at the end? It's a cameo, so it's in the film. It's not a post credit scene.
No.
But I do think Stan Lee died from drinking the blood.
Character Stan Lee, the character from the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah,
that one.
But I might be wrong. So anyway, we now wake up and we are at
Cave Hulk.
He didn't die. No, Chief Brody rules. Okay. If he didn't die, that's fine. Then maybe then there's a Hulk Stan Lee out there, and that's hilarious. And they should do something with that.
I started drawing, and I should have started drawing Stan Lee Hulk.
Well, you got time because there's a lot of episode left to talk about.
Okay, go on.
There's a lot of episode left. We have only gotten through like the first 10 minutes.
Okay.
of this 30-minute show.
I gather.
Yeah. But I'm gonna have a bit of whiskey. So we wake up and we're in Mexico, and we're at Bruce's.
Is it amber tinted, as they
No,
always are? Okay.
no,
Wow.
just normal for flat. It's Marvel, man. It's flat Marvel lighting. Come on, they don't do
True.
anything interesting. We're in this pad by the beach that apparently Tony Stark built for Bruce. You know, so it's Hulk sized basements and stuff like that. And it's cool, and you know, I buy it. Tony Stark built Bruce a place in Mexico where he can do his research.
His closest friend.
Yeah.
In the Avengers.
Yeah, but the problem is the majority of the time that we are in Mexico and at Bruce's pad is spent with comments either about Captain America's virginity.
No, they're still going with this.
It's a running gag through the whole episode, and it pays off at the end in the post-credit scene.
Okay.
But also, we have this running gag of Hulk Bruce missing Tony. And reminiscing about his friend and all that kind of stuff. So there's all these sort of moments where it's very, very Hulk centric. This middle to end part of the show, where Mark Ruffalo is really becomes. I mean, actually, really, for the most part, he seems to be the lead of the show in this first episode. And it feels like they had him for this one, and they wanted to use him as much as possible. And he probably won't come back until the end. I bet he'll be in the final episode. But yeah, it was interesting because it was so focused on him that I wasn't really getting much. We were seeing everything from kind of his point of view more than we were from Jennifer's point of view. Like, he was waking Jennifer up. He was doing things to Jennifer in terms of like experimentation and stuff like that. And we were seeing her reaction to him. And so it felt very much like we should be over her shoulder, but we seem to always be over Hulk's shoulder with this stuff.
This makes no sense.
It was kind of weird to me. It was a bit odd. The other thing that I noticed very quickly on is once we're in Mexico, like he is like, you're here and you're here to stay. You're a Hulk now. Your whole life is over. And she's like, no, I need to go back to my job. And he's like, no, you need to learn to, you know, you're a Hulk now. You need to learn to be a Hulk and be a superhero. And there's no sense of time. So like, I don't know how long it was after she got the blood dripped on her, that she was tackled by the Hulk. I don't know how long it was between being tackled by the Hulk and waking up in Mexico. I don't know how long it was. I don't know how long she spent in Mexico. Was it a day? Was it a week? Was it 3? Was it 4 months? I don't know. Like, there's no real sense of, and the whole time she's there, she's like, I need to get back to my job and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but like you're not really being very urgent about it. And we're not really we don't really know what is happening back in New York where the job is. So I'm like,
there's no cutaways from her coworker just going
none.
Like, you know, I'm wondering where she went. Is she sick?
None. There's no like, oh, she's
a little green.
Yeah, there was none. There was no, oh, she's in a car crash. Oh, she's in a hospital. Nothing. They don't explain what the consequences of this car crash and her being in Mexico with the Hulk are having on her job. And I'm like, this is your courtroom-based show, your courtroom drama comedy. And so far, you're completely neglecting everything to do with courtroom drama stuff. And there's a quote out there from the writers of the show that said, we actually didn't know how to write courtroom scenes. And I'm like, come on.
Okay.
Yeah. So then, of course, we get this montage of all the training, and Bruce is trying to impart all of his knowledge. And it's one of those things where Jennifer has a little bit more control over powers than Bruce ever did. And that's fine. That's in the comics. That's how the character works. But she's coming across as very arrogant. Now, I am told that throughout the rest of the show, she learns to be less arrogant, I'm told. But the problem with this first episode was that the arrogance was sort of on a Captain Marvel level, where I was like, I'm not sure if I don't feel that you're redeeming yourself yet, like in a way that like Tony Stark was such an arrogant jackass in the first Iron Man film and doesn't really come around until like halfway through the movie, right? So like you're kind of when you have your arrogant protagonists, you need to somehow make them sort of likable, the kind of like to hate situation. Whereas with this, I was struggling. I was like, I don't really like you or like you enough to hate you. I just sort of find you you're a little bit too like snappy, and I don't know, what you're trying to get at by doing this. She's kind of constantly, not berating him, a bit harsh, but she's always sort of coming at Hulk and undermining him and acting like things are fine when they're clearly not. And just that level of tension and drama really could have been amped up, I think, with this particular moment. Because again, you're not really diving into their interpersonal dramas. You're not diving into her psyche. She just keeps saying, I want to go home. And Hulk just keeps saying, but you're a superhero now.
Yeah.
And I keep thinking, you're not a superhero now at all. And the thing is in this moment, you're thinking, okay, she's a Hulk now. You need to raise the stakes. Like, if she doesn't get back home, something is going to screw up with her job. Maybe that obnoxious guy that you set up at the beginning is going to usurp her and take her case. And she doesn't want that. She's worked for 2 years on this case, right? And so she needs to get back to get that case, because this can't happen right now, right? That's what you need, something like that. Mm-hmm. But then you also need to add more drama on top of that. Hulk needs her help with something. Now that she's a Hulk, he can use her. You need some sort of conflict. He's like, you have this power. I need your help. Help me with something, please. And she needs to be like, no, I need to get back to my court because of my career. Like, that should have been the tension that was being built in this middle section, and it wasn't. And I felt like that was such a fucking shame, because I don't care if it's a comedy or not. Like, these stakes need to be raising, and they're not. And it drove me nuts watching this, because I was like, I like Mark Ruffalo. He's a good actor. I like him as the Hulk. I really like the lady who plays the Hulk. She's cool and she's good in the role and she's a good actor. Yep. But I'm like, this plot, this story, this character development, nothing is really going anywhere. I don't know what we need to be caring about right now. We're just in it for just looking at how she becomes, how she's getting trained, apparently, right? Like, yeah. But why? It's very sort of Harley Quinn, Emancipation, where it's like you have all these scenes that can be fun scenes. It was, but so you have all these scenes that are fun scenes, but nothing is happening, and nothing is leading to anything.
Yeah. And
that's what was really driving me nuts. And I'm like, what you need is the hero's journey. And this leads me to my third problem, is this first episode felt like a hero without a journey. And I mean, I don't know if, anyone here knows the hero's journey motif developed by Joseph Campbell, who's an incredibly smart man. He was instrumental in helping George Lucas craft the original Star Wars. Because George Lucas is obviously big into the, samurai myths and all that kind of stuff. And Joseph Campbell's work on mythology and myth throughout, throughout history was quite vital to how he constructed Luke's saga. And with this journey, like, what you have is you have your call to adventure. You have your thing.
Meeting with the mentor, inciting incident.
For Luke Skywalker, it's you need to. I'm going to train you as a Jedi. Your time here on Tatooine is done. You're going to come with me to take these droids to save Princess Leia. And then the very next thing that happens is, in the hero's journey, is the hero kind of rejects that call. Luke Skywalker says, "No, I'm not going to do that. I can't. I have too much to do here." And then something else happens that eventually pushes you over the line. And again, for Luke Skywalker, it's It's the death of Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. That is his moment to say, it is time to, I have to leave now. I have to go fulfill this greater purpose. And this whole episode, I'm looking for that. I'm like, what is her call to adventure? What is her thing? And like the whole time, you're not getting it. Like I said, it should have been a case. It should have been, she's been working towards this thing. And then the call can maybe be something to do with the Hulk needing her for something, but she rejects that call because she needs to get back to this case. She needs to get back and do some lawyer work.
Like
and then you bring that stuff into conflict.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because instances like that gives you in the back of your mind when you're watching the movie or when you're watching the story unfold, you know that it's that something urgent is happening, and it raises your investment in it. I think.
Yeah.
That's just basic story.
There is a moment. Yeah, no, it is. Totally. There's this scene where Hulk's like, well, obviously I need to find out what's going on with this ship, because he mentions what kind of ship it is and says it's probably dropping off some sort of message or something like that. And I'm like, and that's it. And you realize that that's probably going to come later in the show. But again, it's one of those moments where it's like, why not use this moment between him and Jennifer to be like, I need you to come do this with me. And they just don't. They completely drop it. And like I said, in that, say again.
So what do they do instead?
Well, basically all they do is they have an argument about whether she's going to go back home or not. And she gets in the Jeep, tries to drive away. They get into a fight, and then they eventually come to terms with she's going to go back to the real world and go be a lawyer. And he's just sort of like, okay, so it's weird, so instead of,
strange.
Yeah, instead of there being a threshold that she's coming up to that she needs to cross, instead of getting inching closer to that hero's journey, she's just sort of walking around talking and doing Hulk claps and doing Hulk things and showing off her Hulk powers. And it's like, I don't care about your Hulk powers. Like, Wolverine is cool.
That's because
Wolverine,
I don't. Yeah.
Wolverine isn't the claws and the beard and the hair. Wolverine is the person, is the guy. I'm interested in the guy, in his drama, right? I'm not interested in seeing Wolverine slash and dice people, right? Like, those are fun moments, but but the things that we like are his conflict. That's what you want. And the conflict, I think, was how I described it when we were watching. I was like, everything felt half-baked. You have all of the right scenes, all of the right beats, but it's almost like they didn't put in the character development and the drama and whatnot that needed to drive you from one beat to the next beat.
I think
they just sort of string it along. And I think an interesting, maybe not interesting, but to me it was I was thinking about Smallville, because I love Smallville. And
I bet Smallville will show up in every one of our episodes. We're going to mention it at least once.
Smallville or Star Trek, one of the two.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was thinking about the very first episode of Smallville in comparison to She-Hulk, and it was like, it's a perfect pilot. Smallville, you have Clark, who ultimately begins his journey of self-discovery in that episode. Like, it sets up the fact that there's this woman that he loves that he can't get close to because she's wearing a kryptonite necklace.
What?
Well, yeah,
Really?
Lana Lang is wearing a kryptonite necklace, so he loves.
Oh, wow.
This is the woman he loves, but it's hard for him to get close to her because of this. He finds out that he's an alien. He gets hit by a car. He doesn't get hurt, doesn't get injured. Finds out he's an alien. That creates drama. He feels like his parents have lied to him his whole life.
Yeah.
And then he's, hey, Kay, good to have you here. And then then he finds out that he came to Smallville in this meteor shower. He's he then now feels responsible because Lana's parents, the woman he loves, died. They were killed by the meteors, right?
Damn.
So that adds to his interpersonal drama. But then when there's a crisis, when there's this other individual who's affected by the meteorites, who's going to go and kill all of his friends at this high school dance, Clark then has to step up, and not only is he stepping up to save his friends, but he's stepping up to save the people who just recently bullied him and hung him up in a field like a scarecrow. So he accepts his call to adventure to do the right thing and save his friends and save even the bullies who hung him up in a cornfield. Right?
Does this all happen in one episode?
This happens in one perfect episode.
That's amazing. Wow, that's great.
One perfect episode.
I always am surprised at how much you can really cram into one episode or one movie if you really try.
Yeah. Yeah. There was no time wasted. There was no moment wasted in that pilot of Smallville. And the whole time I was also thinking of like the pilot of Friends, because that's a 22, 24 minute comedy, right? And this is meant to be a 30-minute comedy, She-Hulk. And like even the first episode of Friends is so lean. Like everything is happening and you're driving the characters, you're driving the tension with Monica and Phoebe. Phoebe's moved out, but Phoebe hasn't told Monica that she's moved out, but she's pretending to still live there. Then you get Rachel rocks up into the situation, and that triggers the personal dramas between her and Ross. And so things are just happening, sharply and quickly. And you only have 20 minutes to do this. And I think if you're writing these comedies, look to these other shows that are nailing it in less time than you. This show was 38 minutes long.
Holy hell. I thought it was going to be just a 24-minute episode. They don't do that anymore.
8 minutes of this show is credits.
Well, okay.
So it's 30 minutes. It's
Right.
still 10 minutes longer or so than an episode of Friends, and it's 12 minutes shorter than an episode of Smallville. But nothing really happens. There's nothing in this first episode that will drive the plot forward, or that is clearly set up that will drive the plot forward. So in the first episode of Smallville, Clark is hit at 65 miles an hour by Lex Luthor. Lex is on a mission to find out like what happened, because he shouldn't be alive. Clark saved his life. And Clark ripped the top of his car open, pulled Lex out, and gave him mouth to mouth, all kind of stuff. So Lex is like, wait a minute, I shouldn't be alive. How did this happen to my car? This is weird. And this is set up in the first episode, and that this is going to be the bug in his ear, right?
Yeah, because we know who Lex Luthor is. Like most people who go into it,
Yes, Chief Brody Rule says, I didn't know that I could rewind live stream. That was weird. Yes, you can. I have known about that.
I do it all the time.
I do too.
I'm always late to streams.
So anyways, that's this kind of brings me to the fourth problem, and we're kind of coming to an end here almost in a little bit. But like the show just unfortunately does too much telling and not enough showing. Like I've mentioned before, like the obnoxious man at the beginning of the show, like, they really should have set him up at the beginning to have some sort of payoff at the end, whether that payoff is a negative for her or a positive for Jennifer. Like they should have done something to set that up and pay that off in the grand scheme of things, so that we can understand the rest of the show is a courtroom drama. This is the kind of stuff we're going to be getting into in the future. But that doesn't happen. There's other stuff in there that just drive me, that sort of just felt ham-fisted. And it's how you handle your themes and your story is critical. Because if you don't handle it well, it's going to come across as preachy and obnoxious. And there are moments in this that I thought maybe we're just a little bit on the preachy side, where telling didn't work, but showing would have been so much more powerful.
Absolutely. That's always, in my opinion, that's 99% the way to go.
Mm-hmm. And there's one particular moment which everyone has seen in the on Twitter and IMDb tweeted the scene out, and that is this moment where she's talking to Hulk, and he sees that she can just become She-Hulk and become Jennifer at you know instantaneously because of this, and he's like, "How are you doing that?" And she's like, "Because I'm angry all the time, because I'm a woman, and this is how a woman has to live."
But wasn't Bruce angry all the time? That was the joke.
Bruce, that was the thing in the Avengers. He's like, "How do I control it? I'm angry all the time." And then she goes into this spiel about how she's like, "Oh, I get catcalled, and I get mansplained to, and all this." She's telling us all this stuff that happens, all this stuff that makes her angry, and it's like all these things are valid reasons. I get being pissed off at someone catcalling. I get being pissed off at someone mansplaining you and undermining you. I get it. But you know what's lazy? I'll tell you what's lazy. Telling us and not showing us. Not setting up in this fucking show that you're getting paid shit tons of money to do, and Marvel, with the amount of money that they make, to produce something so lazy and so half-assed is fucking ridiculous. Because they want all these scenes with Jennifer Walters because they don't want to pay for CGI for the Hulk, right? For She-Hulk. Okay, fine, whatever. Well, then give us scenes that are going to establish her character, establish the dramas, establish the issues that she's facing in the office and out of the office. Actually put it in there. Stop being cowards. Stop putting it in exposition. I'm so sick of exposition. I'm so sick of being told how great people are and never seeing how great characters are. I'm sick of being told of how the trauma that they face and all that kind of stuff, and not actually seeing them experience the trauma, right?
Well,
it's pointless, and it's terrible, bad storytelling.
Yeah, well, Luke, wasn't made for you. Wasn't made for Sorry.
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Something that can be made for a 4-year-old can still be well told and not be made for me.
No, absolutely.
You're responsible as a writer. Your responsibility is to the craft and to tell a story well, and not be lazy and not be cheap. And this pilot at times felt lazy and cheap to me because they were undermining the basic rules of storytelling, the basic rule, which is you show, don't tell. But this middle section where she is learning her powers, the only thing we're seeing is her learning her powers. We're not seeing anything else. We're being told everything else.
I was just saying, like, when you mentioned that we were only learning her powers, and I made this weird reaction where I went, ugh, because I just was like, you could have taken all that out and put in all the other things that make her the person that she is, as and show her those, show us these problems. And
the other thing that really frustrated me about that particular scene is she says to Bruce, "Oh, you don't know what it's like. You don't know what it's like for me. I'm angry all the time because of all these reasons." And I'm sitting there thinking, wait a minute. Bruce literally in the Avengers movie says he tried to kill himself because he was so depressed and horrified by the monster he became as the Hulk.
This is a bad person to be, wrong person to be.
And it's like, I get it that you don't like being catcalled and mansplained to, but are you suicidal? I don't think so. I don't think so. Like, and thinking about Hulk's journey in the other films, like the events of the Avengers, that's traumatic. Loki was traumatic. Fighting the Abomination was traumatic. Thanos beating him to death, causing the Hulk to not want to come out. Like,
hunted down wherever you go.
Literally hunted by the government, hunted by the man of the woman he loves. Unable to have a relationship, unable to have really good connections with anyone because of this. Like, someone mansplains something to you, so that's why you're angry? Fuck off. How about that? Like, and this is the thing, is one of those things. What agitates me the most about this, why I'm so riled up, is because the things that she's talking about are real drama, real problems that people.
They are real problems. Yeah,
and they make they make light of it because they throw it in this stupid scene in the middle of an episode, and they again, it's like we need to see it happening. If you really want to make your point, we need to see it happening because we need to see how our protagonist responds to this kind of stuff. If we don't see our protagonist responding to the dramas that they're facing on a daily basis, then we don't really know what kind of person they are. We don't really know if they're someone that we actually want to support or root for or not. And so this particular scene drove me nuts because it undermined these particular things she's talking about. It undermined Bruce's story because I'm also thinking, screw you, man. Screw you, lady. Because you know what? You don't know everyone's story. Just because middle-class white woman lawyer is catcalled, don't assume to know what someone else is going through, i.e. the Hulk wanting to kill himself. And it's almost like the show forgets. And like that moment would have been an interesting moment for Hulk to be like, you know what? I spat a bullet out once. What do you mean?
Involuntarily.
What do you mean? Oh, well, when I was Bruce, I put a gun in my mouth, pulled the trigger. Happened in the Avengers. Mentioned the Avengers. Do something with that. They don't. Let's look at the chat.
No, I agree.
Kay says, as a fan, I want to know the character, but when they made her better than Bruce in one episode, it made me laugh. Yeah, I mean, to some degree, there were moments of that. It was a little bit back and forth where she would maybe jump a little farther, punch a little harder, throw a little further. But then there were moments where Hulk would throw much farther and stuff. So, it was more her sort of general arrogance that annoyed me the most. I think I'm told that in the future episodes she does sort of, she's not. That kind of stuff doesn't continue. But the first episode did have some sprinklings of that. Mansplain to tell truths and facts while being a man. Yeah, no, that scene really annoyed me. I felt so frustrated by it because there's so much stuff that you could have done with that. With these things.
Yeah, there's many opportunities. The subject matter is pretty serious, pretty important. It isn't a rare occurrence. Happens to a lot of women and to an extent certain men, I guess. And this stuff could have been a whole, and a whole exploration of that, artistically, as opposed to just statements to say, look, we're aware of the situation. We're going to make some zingers there.
Yeah. And again, I mean, you had the character to do it. You had this obnoxious guy at the beginning of the episode. And he was your person that you can accomplish this with, and you don't do anything with it. Why? Why not? It didn't make any sense. Which then leads me to the fifth and final problem. And that is the end. So she leaves Mexico after these sort of conversations and sort of mastering her powers and stuff like that. All the while, we have no idea what effect her disappearance or absence is having at her job or anything like that.
What happened? What happens when she comes back to New York? What happens?
Well,
what happens?
We catch back up to that scene where she's in her office and she's like, "Oh, so yeah, by the way, I'm Hulk." So we get back to that scene, right? And then following that, we then smash cut to a courtroom where the opposing lawyer is giving his final statement about some case. We don't know what this case is. We don't know what it's about. We don't know who these players are. It's just a courtroom scene. We're just randomly thrown into a courtroom scene as if we're meant to care. Like, I don't care because she hasn't mentioned the
She hasn't been to the courtrooms
she hasn't been in court this whole episode. She hasn't been like worried about this case or worried about what her being gone is going to do to it. Nothing like that. So it's like we get there and we're like, well, why are we here? Why do we care? I don't care. I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea who anybody is. She's sitting with her two lawyer friends, the other lawyer and the paralegal. I don't even know their names because they've only been in the show for about 30 seconds. You know, and then Jennifer gets up to give her closing statement, the one that we heard her read out earlier. And then out of nowhere, some random supervillain bursts through the wall. And then everyone's like scattering around and she's like hiding behind the desk and her friend's like, it's time, you need to Hulk out. You need to Hulk out. And she's like, but now. And then suddenly she hulks out.
Angry woman. Go.
Yeah, she hulks out, punches this supervillain and knocks the supervillain out, and then she de-hulks and turns to the judge and says, I'm ready to give my closing statements now, and then smash cut the credits.
Oh, there should have been applause by everybody. Yeah.
It was nothing. And it's like, you know, it's so frustrating
but
with that
sir,
scene
I'm not
well,
done.
because, yeah, it's like you have that, you know, you have that moment in The Dark Knight when Harvey Dent does something like that when he grabs the gun and
that's what I was referencing.
Yeah. So that you can do something with that. You could and have it fun. But this is like one of those moments where it's like I was saying, you know, we're talking about the hero's journey. Like that moment, that villain turning up is her moment to cross the threshold to say, you know what? Fuck, maybe I am a superhero. Maybe I do need to do something because I'm the only person in this room who could do something about this superpowered motherfucker who's just burst in the building. Right?
Yeah.
That was her moment. But it was so undercut and so underplayed and so pointless because nothing else was set up in this whole episode. Like, was someone trying to kill the opposing person in the trial? Was someone trying to kill her client? I don't know. No one knows. We have no idea why the superpowered person just randomly burst into the courtroom. That's something,
by the way, do you know?
You absolutely have to set up in your first story, especially if your fucking show is a courtroom drama. Right?
Who was it?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. I thought you mean
I don't know who the villain. I don't know who the supervillain is. Okay. I don't know who her case was against. I don't know who she.
Really? We don't even know that.
Wow. No, I don't know who she was representing. I don't know any of it. They didn't go into any of it. They threw in some vague you know, names at the very beginning of the show, but like I don't know who they are. You know, and
this sounds like when you write a script, you know, one night and you're like having a ball and you're getting to the end and you're writing like, and then the villain shows up and she's scared. She doesn't know what to do. And then she, you know, like what does she do? Knocks him out and throws him out or something like that. And she's...
yeah, it's one quick, awkwardly edited punch.
Right.
Where she can knocks him out. Yeah.
And then we get to the end of like the bottom of the page, you know, oh, it's perfect. Then she goes, I have my closing statements. Cut to the end. And then you just clap at yourself in your desk and go, this rules. I'm printing it out. We're going to go film it. Instead of then, because normally what happens to writers the next day is they open their laptop the next day and they read it and they go, oh, okay. Time to fix that one.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've had many of those instances. I mean, I did too when my occasional writing.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Kay says here, you know, who was the villain? We don't know. No one knows. No one knows. And you know, the show ended. The show ended, and I was just like, you had, like I said, you had the outline. You had the beat outline that was hitting everything you should hit. But like I said, the connective tissue between that was gone. It didn't exist. Of course.
I mean, you told me everything about it and I can see that. Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, everyone is, you know, a lot of people are praising the show, but it's I don't think it's getting the Well, I don't think it's getting the particular attention that something like Miss Marvel got, because it's not in the 90% range at the moment.
Right. I also think that Miss Marvel or Captain Marvel.
Miss.
Oh well, I don't know. I've not seen it.
No, Miss Marvel was like 95% fresh within 3 seconds of being released. Whereas this is still in the 80s. And the other thing that annoys me though about the Rotten Tomatoes and the Rotten Tomatoes scoring for these TV shows is
TV shows. Yeah,
it's a TV show for one. You've seen an episode, maybe 4 episodes, depending on what Marvel have given you.
Mm.
You cannot judge a whole series on half of it. You can't accurately say. You can give a vague opinion, but I really do not think that reviewers should be allowed to reviews should not be posted for a singular episode or a few episodes. It should be, I've watched the whole thing and this is my opinion on the whole thing. Otherwise, it's just, I think it leaves room for shows to have like really great openings and then terrible middles and ends. And I think Star Trek is a great example of that, where if you watch Star Trek Discovery or Strange New Worlds, the first episodes are probably some of their best, but then it descends into ridiculousness by the end.
It's like WandaVision for me.
Yeah. And I feel like they put they put a lot into this, but I was listening to the Film Threat guys today. They really liked She-Hulk, but they admitted that this first episode, this pilot, is not very good. But they say the rest of the show is very much like Ally McBeal 90s courtroom dramedy. And I'm like, that's fine, cool, but like this was my introduction. My introduction was this half-baked pilot that on a moment-by-moment basis, which is what Marvel does, is moment by moment entertains you. But the second you kind of step back and think of the, it's like you're looking at an up-close picture of like a really well-painted flower, right? But then you step back from the canvas and there's loads of like mistakes, loads of blank spaces, and you're like, wait a minute, I thought this was meant, the picture isn't pulled together. Like over here is a really cool vase, or over here is a really cool portrait in this, but like as a cohesive thing, it was really shockingly bad.
Yeah.
And the messaging, the theme, I just after we watched it, Claire was like, so she's angry all the time? Like that must be so exhausting. Like, who is angry all the time? Who walks, and I think that raises a really good point, because I'm just kind of like, yeah, there's a lot of things that are out there in the world that are terrible, that are, you can be angry about and are right to be angry about.
There's a lot of injustices in the world.
Yeah. But do you really sit there and walk around angry all the time? Is that really what your existence is? Because if it is, that's sad, and you need to do something about it, because that's probably not healthy.
Pain, anger, these feelings Anakin has,
leads to the dark side. Kay says Disney went with She-Hulk. Netflix went Vampire, and Amazon went for the Emmerich World Ender.
Emmerich World Ender.
Yes. Yeah.
Vampires are winning. Vampires are back, baby.
I don't watch anything vampire related, so I have no idea.
No, I don't either. I just watch Blade occasionally. I haven't seen it, I haven't seen Blade 2 in maybe 10, 15 years.
Yeah. I don't know.
So good.
No, I have seen the first. I've seen bits of the first Blade. I think I've always tried to watch it, but then never finished it, and I should do. So the thing is, like, I know I'm going to have pissed people off by saying these negative things about She-Hulk. I think, if you like it, fine. You like it, that's fine. I don't care. But I just, it's one of those moments where we watched it and I was so annoyed by the
Mhm.
laziness. And with Marvel being such a massive company, having so much money that they can put behind something, and then when you know that they don't pay their visual effects artists very well, because I'm not even talking about the terrible CGI. The CGI in this show has some really appalling moments, but I'm not blaming the CGI people because they're overworked and they're underpaid because Marvel doesn't pay them very well, and that's not their fault. So I'm not gonna, while I could criticize the CGI, I'm not really gonna do that, because if I do, I'm gonna criticize Marvel for it. I'm gonna criticize Marvel and Disney for not paying people the way they should. um but that was another thing that didn't really look very good. um the most unique thing about the show was the end credits. Go watch the end credits. If you watch anything, watch the end credits, because it's an
Oh yeah.
interesting,
Oh yeah.
cartoon thing, that it's like, oh, this is literally where all of the creativity went, right into this scene. And it's a shame because, again, like I said, I like I like Mark Ruffalo. I like the lady who plays She-Hulk, Tatiana, I think is her name. I might have gotten that wrong. I will look it up,
Excuse me.
because I don't want to get this lady. Yeah, Tatiana Maslany, I think is her name. I'm not very good with
Oh,
things like
Tatalini,
that.
Vaseline.
But she, as an actor, I mean, she's a good actor.
Well,
She
yeah.
I buy her in the role. Like, there's nothing about her that, like, she could be great. But at the moment, I'm like, I think you have a good actor who's being underserved by
The script, the
by
story.
stupid storytelling.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
You need to watch it on old YouTube.
No, an old tube TV.
Sorry, my dyslexia came in there. I always misread things all the time. Orphan Black season 1 was on point. Okay, I never
I
saw
don't know what
Orphan
that
Black.
is.
That was on Netflix. I think it was on. No, wait, no. Was Orphan Black on? Was that on BBC? Was it BBC?
The Beebs.
Was that on Beebs? Let me know, Kay. Let me know. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was my experience of watching She-Hulk.
Interesting.
I mean, this is enough. I
Confessors.
will. We might. Claire and I might watch future episodes. I will not talk about them. Like this.
Okay,
Like
no,
this.
okay. Yeah.
Like
Gotcha.
this. I watched this first episode and I was just like,
Yeah.
shit. Like, I really wanted to sit and talk about it, and Frank, I asked him. Frank was saying, like, oh, just save it for next week, and I was like, I don't think I can.
It has to come out. You gotta Hulk
But I'm
out.
also I'm well aware that I'm going to
You
upset
gotta
people
Hulk out.
who've watched She-Hulk and like She-Hulk, and I'm not.
You can't sit by this, John. You
Yeah.
gotta feel it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trashing the show a little bit, but I'm not
You're right.
trashing the
You're
people.
absolutely right.
I'm not trashing the people. I'm not trashing the actors. Like, they're fine. Like, I don't give a crap about anyone. Like that. Like, I'm literally just looking at the writing. I'm coming at this strictly from a writing perspective, and the writing was terrible.
Terrible. Well, I finished drawing my picture.
Let's see.
It's I wish there was a way to have it actually show you. Wow.
Can you turn? You can turn your thing off for a second.
I could.
Go on. Oh, Tatiana played several characters in Orphan Black. Oh, okay, cool. I'll look it up.
Ah.
I mean, I think I mean, the lady has won like Emmys and stuff like that. Like, she's a good actor. Like, she's a good actor.
There we go. There's She-Hulk.
I like that.
I drew She-Hulk while you were talking, and then I drew, as requested, Stan Lee.
Stan Hulk.
Yeah. Stan Hulk. Ah.
Yeah, I
There he
think
is.
Claire said when we were watching the show, she was saying, like, really, if you're just watching this mindlessly, you're not gonna care in the way that
Yeah.
I do. Which is I think, as what Melissa was saying earlier, if you're a casual fan and you're not that involved or invested, and you're just kind of watching something that's like light kind of entertainment, I think there's that's another big reason why Marvel can just continue to push out stuff that is
It's taking me forever to.
I know, dude.
There you go. I just realized that Stan Lee as the Hulk would be pretty much Master Roshi in Dragon Ball, because that's what Master Roshi does, and he also wears the sunglasses and has a mustache, and is an old man.
I thought it was gonna be like General Ross.
General
Ross becomes a Hulk. Red Hulk.
Yeah, does he become Red Hulk? Okay, that's the one. That's the legend. Yeah, so that's my sketch. That's about it. That's
a good sketch. Just remind anyone who is here, please do like this video. Likes help us out.
Thank you. Yeah, please like us, like this, because I really liked hearing what Luke had to say. It was
Share
great.
with your friends. Share the video
share with
if you want. Don't feel pressured, but do it.
Do it. Yeah.
So I know I mentioned this to Phil earlier. See my mug? This mug is Janeway's mug from Star Trek. It's not her actual mug. It's a replica of Janeway's mug from Star Trek Voyager. They are doing a Voyager documentary, and it's called To the Journey, which is written on the bottom of the mug. And it's done by the same crew who did the Deep Space Nine documentary a few years ago that I thought was absolutely brilliant. So I'm very excited for this Voyager documentary. The Deep Space Nine documentary was just, gosh, I might have to rewatch it soon. It was just so awesome. But what was so cool about it is they do a mock writers room where they bring the head, all the main writers back for a day to kind of break ground on what would be a hypothetical season 8. And
really?
And it would take place, real time would have passed, so 20 years or so would have passed. And the ideas that they were coming up with, like, I can't not think about them. In my head, I'm like, this is definitely what begins to happen. Like when they were going through, I was like,
nice.
It was great.
So were they just kind of riffing off of each other, or did they already have something planned?
No, they were riffing off each other. Like, okay, so where did we end? What do we do?
Fun.
Well, where is character X? Where is character Y? Where are all these people? We need to bring everyone back to the station, but they're going to be in very different places in life. How do we get them back? And they break ground on what would be the first episode and kind of tease where it might go. And I loved it. It was just like in my head, like I see it as a real episode.
Wow. Nice.
And I'm like, that is, there's books and stuff that carry on the story of Deep Space Nine, but like in my head, I'm like, what Ira and these other guys were putting together was awesome.
That sounds really fun. I think they should do that with other shows that never got past a certain.
Yeah, I would love it if they did it with Voyager. That would be fascinating. Cases Janeway in the style of Picard would be awesome. Possibly. We have not talked about Star Trek much on this channel. Picard, I hate the show Picard, though. Robert Michael Burnett has me very interested in season 3.
Nice. Luke, do me a favor. I'm trying to share my screen, and I think I got it hooked up to the iPad.
You do?
Yeah! Look at that! You can watch me draw.
There you go. Well, it's good to know that we can do this, actually. We can do this next time. That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, only if you feel like it's not going to be distracting.
No, it could be cool. It could be cool. It would have been actually good to have you draw She-Hulk while I was rambling on. But anyway, as I was saying about Star Trek, yeah, I mean, Kay, I don't know what you think about Star Trek Picard. I'm a big Star Trek fan, and I felt that Picard, the show Picard, just failed to really understand who the character was. Yeah, he didn't really act like Picard. It broke continuity in ways that I just didn't feel were acceptable. But yeah, but in terms of like a Janeway show in which she's no longer on Voyager and she goes on some sort of adventure as where she is in life now, cool. Why not? I'd be up for that. Yeah, getting the old crew back together is very enticing. It's not showing up too well, Phil, by the way.
I know. I see it, and I'm
I
just
think,
sad
is it
about
because
this.
of is it because of your filter?
No, it's going through Wi-Fi.
Oh, crazy. Yeah, no, getting the old crew back together is very enticing. I'm very keen to see where that goes. Very keen, because what we hear, what we're hearing is that it's very respectful. It's very much like a proper next generation send off, which they really just should have done from the beginning. Picard really just should have been next generation season 8, 9, and 10. I honestly, it really just should have done that. It's a shame that they didn't, because season 1 was okay. I didn't like it very much. Season 2 was bottom of the barrel. That was very. I mean, there's a reason why no one from season 1 and 2 are coming back, except for 7 of 9, who's Voyager, and Raffi, and one of the other girls. There's a reason why none of the other characters are really coming back. Even the new showrunner said that there's a Romulan lady who is coming back, but he's like, she's barely in it, guys. And they tried to build up this big love interest between her and Picard in season 2 that just fell so flat.
That sounds really sad.
It was sad. It was very sad. It was very, very, very sad. But yeah, so but I will watch season 3 of Picard, because I want to see if what Mr. Burnett said is accurate or not. And he's been very critical of Star Trek, and I tend to agree with his opinions on current Star Trek. So yes, if what he's saying is true, then season 3 could actually be really good, and that is a nice glimmer of hope in a very bleak Star Trek landscape.
The entire show sounded really bleak to me.
Yes. Oh, it was. It was. I think Deep Space Nine was so great because Deep Space Nine was able to kind of marry the optimistic future of Gene Roddenberry with the grim realities of a Wild West frontier and war and opposing ideologies and science versus religion. And Deep Space Nine just was the best breaking of the mold, but being respectful of Gene Roddenberry's vision, I think. Well, Jonathan Frakes directed a lot of episodes for Picard, and
did he?
Yeah, he directs Star Trek all the time still. Now you're gonna have to Brent Spiner. So I know very little about Brent and his writing, so you're gonna have to fill me in on that. What is he? Remind me what he's done. With that, with writing Trek. I don't know. I can't remember. I've never known Brent as I know he's a writer, but I've never really pinned him as a Star Trek writer, in the way that like Frakes wrote and directed a lot. There's a reason dear Sir Patrick Stewart was not writing episodes and was not involved in the creative aspect of Star Trek. He's famously known for having bad ideas. And he's famous for not knowing anything about his character.
That is so bizarre.
Yeah. Well, I mean, part of me sort of gets it.
Bizarre.
Part of me gets it. It's, you're there to do your job, and your job is to read the lines. And
I know, but you need to know your character, don't you?
I think you do. I think you do to some degree. Yes, you should. I think you are, as an actor, your responsibility is to sort of understand the character. You might not remember every nook and cranny of that character's existence that passes through your lips, but yeah, I do think in general you should be able to know a thing or two for sure.
Right. See, I took a photo of the skull
Oh, I see what you've done there.
Yeah, and then I drew over it.
That's awesome. Where was that at?
It's in the Vienna Naturally History Museum.
The Vienna Natural History Museum.
Natural Museum.
Naturally
Natural
vain.
History Museum. Sorry.
Naturally vain.
Why does it glitch out like that? Anyway,
don't
good
know.
experiment. Good experiment. This we'll try to implement this next time. So
We will. Yeah, no, I think
Cool.
that'll be fun. I think that'll be fun. What are you saying, Kay? Ricky Gervais extras with. Oh my God, that yes.
I've seen
Yes.
everything.
I mean, if you someone did a really funny video on YouTube where they took that clip of Patrick Stewart from extras and then spliced it what he was saying with scenes from Star Trek Picard, and like it's just so funny because it really nails it on the head so
Yes, but
well.
I their clothes fall off, and I've seen everything. Everything.
Oh God.
All of it.
God. Yeah, no, it is very funny, very funny.
Have you
Yeah,
seen Star
I
Trek: The Next
I was
Generation?
gonna say like I kind of expected us to not have a massive crowd tonight. It is Friday night for one, and
Yeah, I'm ready to.
but I'm glad that we did
toss
this.
the glove.
Toss the glove.
No, that was really good. Like I wanted to hear what you thought of with She-Hulk, and now I know.
Now you know.
Now I know, and I understand that these fundamentals in storytelling have not been taken seriously once again. So
Did he? I didn't realize that he wrote Nemesis. That's interesting. I don't know why I didn't know that.
isn't Nemesis like the worst one?
No, the worst of the Next Generation movies, in my opinion, is probably the first one, which has Captain Kirk in it.
Oh, that's sad because that always sounded like such a cool.
Yeah, Star Trek Generations sort of was a letdown for me. I remember finally getting it when I was a kid, having seen all the others, but not seen that one. Finally getting it, finally watching it, and sort of I was kind of bored. I remember being bored watching that film as a kid, and I was like, this film should not be boring. But it was. I do sort of agree with Red Letter Media, and that is that they kind of sort of don't consider this Next Generation films as canon. I'm only sort of like I'm sort of partial to that. Yes, it does have a lackluster villain. Yeah, I'm kind of like but I like First Contact. That's probably cliche, but I like First Contact. And what's the one after First Contact? Nemesis. Was no,
I
not
thought it
Nemesis.
was Second Base.
Not Nemesis. Gosh, what is
The Undiscovered
K?
Country? No.
K, no, that's number 6. Generations, First Contact, Running a Blank, and then Nemesis.
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
God, yeah. No, I can't remember. That one, the one after First Contact, was probably the most Star Trek episode of the Next Generation films. And I'm gonna have to look it up now. Star Trek Next Generation movies. I mean, when I see it, it's gonna be like, oh yeah, not the. Listen, Next Generation.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Insurrection. Star Trek
Oh,
Insurrection. Insurrection. That was it. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
That was fine. It was fine. The problem with the Next Generation movies is from First Contact onwards, they do try and make Picard an action hero. And he's never really been an action hero. So seeing him as an action hero,
guess what, man? Star Trek Picard seasons 1 and 2.
who won? Yeah.
It's time. Is that what happens?
No, he doesn't. He doesn't really get too much action. He gets very, very little action. It's actually quite sad. He felt very tired in season 2.
Everyone's getting older.
There was a lot of him being like, "Oh, I'm gonna stay here while you go and do the thing that needs to be done. I'll see you shortly."
Lovely.
But then the irony is he's meant to be like a robot.
Wait, he's supposed to be a robot?
At the end of season 1 of Picard, they turned him into a flesh and blood replica robot human version.
Why did they make him the old
clone of Picard?
Why didn't they just make him the young one?
Yeah.
I don't know what
why kill him.
Our guy's like 87.
Yeah. Why kill him? Why kill him at all? He is 87, and so kind of I give him a little bit of slack for that, but yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens with the next one. But anyway, thank you for watching, Frank and Kay, and
Hulk out.
Biffer was here for a while, and Chief Brody and Melissa. It was fun to have you guys with us for a little bit on this Friday night when everyone probably had other more interesting things to do. But hopefully some people will watch this back and not get too angry at my takedown of
it's just theme appropriate if people get angry.
Yes. I mean, this is the Rage-TASTIC discussion.
But I mean, not just that. We're speaking about the Hulk,
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be some Marvel fans out there that will I'm fully expecting some Marvel stands to come at me, but I don't care. It's all good.
I look like Professor X.
You do look like Professor X.
Wait. I need to see if I can like move my chair. I can't do it.
No,
I don't have enough friction. I can't.
Way to go.
Gene, let me in.
Kay, you have a good weekend yourself. Everyone else, have a good weekend. If you're watching this,
you saucy wench.
if you're watching this after we broadcast, I hope you're having a good day. We will see you Wednesday. Don't forget Wednesday, which is the 24th August, 7:30 p.m. We'll be speaking with Bonnie McBird.
Wednesday the 24th, you say?
I think so. Whatever Wednesday is from now, we will be speaking with Bonnie, the original writer of Tron.
For Tron.
We'll be talking Sean. We'll be talking Tron.
Sean.
And a little bit of Sherlock Holmes, because she also writes Sherlock Holmes stories for HarperCollins, and those books are great.
That's right. I can't wait. But I have to wait, so.
A little bit. A few more days, and then we'll be there. But yeah, anyway.
You should have killed me when you had the chance.
Adios, amigos.
Bye.